All right, there you are. Oh, I forgot I had this background on. Oh, you're on mute, Lynn.
Good afternoon.
Hi. I want people to think that my house looks this nice and clean all the time. This isn't my home though.
Very contemporary.
I know, fancy, right?
Fancy schmancy.
Yeah, we did our, so what we did our open office hours on, we did virtual backgrounds 2.0. I'm gonna
Oh,
change.
you told me. We had this whole discussion yesterday, and I'm going to reach out to you next week to have a further discussion on that. I was like, I think I dreamt about your virtual backgrounds last night.
That's funny. Yeah, you should jump on our open office hours in a couple of weeks and you can learn some fun stuff. We'll send you the link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I got to, all right, I'm trying to, where's my, hold for a second.
Reset myself. Oof. I just ate lunch, so now I'm a little, I come over here and I get all like flushed.
Mhm.
I can,
I'm just trying to access my slides.
I'm going to change this so that it looks like I'm in Mass MEP. Where should I put myself today? In the vestibule? Up front? That's our actual front door. Let's see.
Can't put yourself at the state house. I mean, taxes. You're at the state house.
I do. I do have the Oval Office.
There you go.
Mhm. I can.
The Oval Office or the State House?
Christy said to put myself at the State House. She said I should put myself. I'd like this one. I think I'm gonna go with this one. It looks like I'm out up front at the.
Will you tell Lynn I'm just trying to save my computer right now?
Yeah, Christy's having some issues with her computer.
Okay.
We're trying to prevent it from flying off of her desk because it sounds like it's going to.
But I'm right next to Haley, so
Yeah.
it's like I'm here.
She's we have a plexiglass that sits between us.
Yeah.
So she's right there. We are maybe 6 feet apart, but we have plexiglass in between. So we're 3 feet apart, but with glass. So we're good. And we're below the barriers. We're not above it. So it's still good.
Okay. I like your background. I think that's very appropriate.
That's a good, yeah, out front. Yeah, this is our foyer area. Yeah. Did you come, were you here for our open house we did in November?
No, I wasn't. I couldn't make it.
December, I think it was. It was a lot of fun. Was it November?
December.
December. It's almost December again. All right. Do you want to share?
Yes, I want to make sure I can just share the screen and all that. Okay.
Do you want to run through and we'll share the we'll do the poll questions. You don't have to talk. You can just kind of snap through them and I'll pop up the poll questions as you're running through your slides.
Okay. Okay, here's the opening. So before that, I'm going to, reintroduce myself, my snapshots of my different chapters, and just some of the success stories are how we've always connect with MEP, even through AIM. I think that's important to point out. Oh, and by the way, I did look at all of the RSVPs and more than half of them are manufacturers.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I actually looked at all their websites.
Oh, good. So we have 14 as of, we did another, we got another one from today's social media blast.
Great.
So yeah, so we have 14 that we have currently registered. And then I'm sure there'll be more because of our staff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll jump in as well. Ooh,
Okay. So we're going to be talking about government tax incentives during the pandemic and beyond. Okay. This is a snapshot about the type of companies that we're assisting and they're able, what we do is we help manufacturers and other sectors to identify, negotiate, and secure state and local tax incentives, which means helping companies save cash. Every company is looking to save cash, especially during these uncertain times.
Yeah.
And it helps companies to make their corporate real estate decisions. And this is a snapshot of the type of tax incentives we're going to be discussing today.
Yep.
So a variety of incentives at the state level and at the local level. This is the particular program we're going to be talking about, the state's Economic Development Incentive Program. And this program's been up since 1993. And believe it or not, it's still a mystery program to a lot of businesses. And the numbers really speak for themselves as far as a snapshot of how many projects have been, how many companies have been approved since 2010 January through 2020 in January. And I think it's very compelling that all of these companies cumulatively have spent $31 billion in private real estate investment. There were some sweeping legislative changes, start going back to 2009. Some of you may have remembered economic target areas, ETAs, EOAs, economic opportunity areas, lots of alphabet soup back. Well, that's all disappeared. So the Commonwealth wanted to make sure that every community across every corner of the Commonwealth, they would be able to offer these particular tax incentives to growing companies, not just in certain communities. And so, of course, with any particular program, there's got to be eligibility criteria. And so a company that has plans to relocate their operations, it could be a potential on-site expansion where they're currently located, putting a shovel in the ground. Any of these scenarios work for being considered for tax incentives. It can be, we get questions all day long. We're planning on leasing space. Does that qualify? And the answer is yes. So a company can own a facility or it can be a lease. I will have to say that as the years have gone by, we're seeing more and more companies that would like to lease because they really don't want to be in the real estate business. And one important item is that it should be a single occupant building. If it's a multi-tenanted facility, it will say there's a tenant that occupies 30,000 square feet and the building is, we'll say 100,000 square feet. That really isn't the model. That's not the intent, because we need to see, as we'll discuss, we need to see the assessed value of the building increase.
So can you see the poll then?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just pop it up while you're talking and then we'll let them answer. And then if you want to reference it, you can do that. And then we'll give them time to answer. I'll end it and then I'll share the results. And then you'll be able to see what the audience is stating, to kind of give you an idea on timeline. And there's, people do it in different ways. Some people, they don't even, they say, hey, if you can just answer the poll questions, we'd appreciate it. And then we have people answer the poll questions. We can share the results and then we can close it quickly and they may not talk about it again. Some people like to use it as a tool to speak to when they're doing their presentation. So it's up to you.
I prefer not to because it's a little distracting.
Got it.
It's like right in the middle of the screen.
You can move it too. So you can move it out of the way and we can't see you moving it. So you're good if you want to move it.
If I press close, does that work?
You can do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I see. And because, no, it is I will reference it because it's all about this slide. It's about timing.
Yes.
And so that's actually the last bullet point that I'll be discussing. So that's perfect.
All right, cool.
Okay. So regarding, again, eligibility for projects, companies need to meet certain criteria. These are taxpayers' dollars. So of course there's criteria and specifics as to if companies are eligible to apply. And it's the first bullet. Does your company plan to expand by creating new jobs? Job retention is just as important, but does the company plan to create new jobs? And under the Massachusetts general law, how many new jobs are required? 1. one new permanent full-time job. That doesn't seem too hard to do, but let me say that I think the cities and towns would want to see more than one job being created, and that's typically the case for any growth sector company. The second is generating new real estate investment, private real estate investment. That needs to equal bringing new local tax revenue to the municipality. So as an example, if there's an existing building, the town's collecting full taxes on the building, and there's an on-site expansion, that's going to generate new taxes. That's a requirement. The last bullet, other state criteria that the state looks at as well, such as sales outside of Massachusetts, the location, is this a gateway municipality? Where is this? And is this an area where, the state and the community are looking to spark up economic development? But I would have to say the most important item on this slide is project timing. I know there was a poll that was just taken on this, and timing is essential because all of these tax incentives need to be secured before the company makes a decision to sign a lease or to close on a property, because all of these programs have to go before town meeting, city council, board of selectmen. And if they think, oh, this is a done deal, the company's already signed a lease or they've already closed on the property, they're coming anyway, the company has no leverage. So timing is very important. And it typically takes for a project in a town, you'll hear a little later on because we have to go through town meetings. It typically takes 3 to 5 months or so. If it's a city, it can be a little more streamlined, although we have fast track projects in 30 days. Not that we encourage that, but if it's something that the company is very interested in, and you know what happens, they all of a sudden learn that this program's available. They're already moving down the path of exploring if this is a potential benefit for them. And then once they hear about the timing with the town, sometimes things are very, very much on the fast track. So we can make that happen. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to, okay.
So what'll happen is if you X out of the presentation, if you X out the poll that pops up, it actually taking you out of the presentation. So you have to click back into the presentation on the screen so that you can keep it moving forward. So when you take your mouse over to the poll, it will, and that will go away eventually. I will, when I stop sharing it, and I don't even have to share the results. If you don't want me to share the results, and just pop the poll up and get the answers, and then we don't have to show the results. So it'll pop up for a minute. If you can kind of work around it for a minute, and then we can collect the data, and then we can just move on. And that way, then it will disappear off of your screen if you're okay, if you're comfortable with just kind of working around it in the meantime.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can do that.
All right, as long as I can advance the slides, I don't have to keep opening and closing.
Yeah, just so stay inside of your presentation. So then that way you won't have to be worried about doing any of that.
Okay.
So we have about 10 more minutes before we'll let everybody in. And I'll go through a little opening that we do for all of our webinars. And then it should take me, I think it's about a couple minutes. I'll go through that. And then then you can do your introduction and then obviously begin your presentation.
Okay.
I'll just pop up.
Yep. So the slide is just going to describe the types of projects. For the first box is more or less for non-manufacturers that are applying for state and local tax incentives. We highlight gateway city retention projects because cities and the state are very pro projects in gateway municipalities. They have higher unemployment rates. They really need to spark up economic development. So there could be potential higher tax incentives. And then a local incentives only project, this really ties into a company if they're a manufacturer. or a life science company. So particularly if the company is a registered manufacturer in Massachusetts, the company is available to access statutory tax incentives. And this is a huge benefit of being a designated manufacturer in Massachusetts. So there are EDIP state tax credits, but if it's the manufacturer, they would typically utilize the 3% because, of course, there's no double dipping. No double dipping at the state level.
Not in COVID.
Nope. And so, I wanted to hone in a little bit more on these types of tax incentives and how they work, what the eligibility criteria is. So do you want me, so I don't need to go through all this now?
No,
because
you don't need to. No,
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you're comfortable, your
Oh, yeah, I'm
slides,
comfortable.
yep, and you're good with your slides and that you're
Yeah.
moving them through.
Yep.
Everything's working the way you want it, and then we'll
Yeah,
just
great.
bring it. Yeah, yep. So you'll have it if you take it back to your main screen, and then that's perfect. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
work. Yeah, so you're all set.
I'm all set.
You're good to go. Maybe I should put up. Maybe I should do a screen. Open my set. Master template. All right, let's do. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know why that's doing that. Mm-mm. Oh, paragraph. Where's my format? Paragraph. Right. Copy. Delete. Delete. Text box. Let's try this again. Of course. $40? No. 38.
Do you pronounce Christie's last name Gringan?
Grignon.
Grignon. Okay.
Yeah, but if you were French, you would pronounce it completely different again. Grignon.
Grignon. Okay.
I just like to do that every once in a while just to make people think I can speak different languages. Just hoping. Oh, my allergies. No, it'll right when we start. And then I'll get this, I have to sneeze thing. It'll come up. All right, let's bring that down a smidge. I'm just doing a little entry slide so that when people come in, they will see this little slide we have up. Do you want me to do, see if I can do this. Do a little music. And
I
make
do
it,
want to get back to doing an event like that.
I did too. Yep, gone are the days of doing things. All right, I'm just gonna share my screen. I've got a little slide we're gonna do. Just an opening slide. Oh, sugar plum fairies. I'm gonna end the show. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that you can also share when I'm in presentation mode. All right, presentation mode. Ooh, you know what else I need? Is there a way to not? I guess not. So all panelists. So time was it? Okay. All right. Share, and then in here. It's so delicate. There we go. All right, now I need to move you over here so I can see you. And then I need to move my,
I like the music.
you do?
You guys are like amazing. I've never seen an entity like you, okay? I've been working with a lot of different Zoom platforms and presentations, and you're number one right now.
Such a great compliment, Lynn. Thank you so much.
Pretty. All right, so we have a couple more minutes, and then what I need to do is I gotta end this real quick because I gotta move my this so I can read it. Even though I know most of it, but it's been a while since I've done it. So, all right, let's try this again. Slideshow, and then can you see that, Lynn?
I see the tax incentives for real estate expansion. Yeah, I had the opening.
All right, perfect. So I will start the music. It's not on for a really super long time, but let me turn the volume down a smidge. There we go. Okay, so we are we'll do it right at 1 o'clock. I'll broadcast and then everybody will start to come in.
Okay, just let me know when after you introduce me, then I'll begin.
You'll know. So my last sentence is, let's begin with tax incentives for real estate expansion projects for manufacturers during the pandemic and beyond. And then it'll be you.
Okay.
All right. And then by then, as I'm starting that sentence, if you want to, I will say I will now turn the webinar over to our panelist, Lynn. As I'm doing that, do you want to share your screen? And
well, first I'd like to just, welcome, to thank everyone. I'll do the thank yous and all of that. Then I'll share my screen.
Cool. All right. Well, you can. Yep, you can do it. I'll stop the music by then. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Let's do this. Oh, it started again. I forgot. Okay. Here we go. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Come on in and grab a seat. Hopefully you're already sitting in one, at least by now, I would think, right? Or maybe you're in your kitchen preparing lunch. You could be doing that. Come on in. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes. I know there's a couple more names that were registered. We want to give them the opportunity to get in and get a good seat. And we'll get started. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Mass MEP webinar, Tax Incentives for Real Estate Expansion Projects for Manufacturers During the Pandemic and Beyond. We have our panelists with us today, Lynn Tokarczyk, and she taught me a fun little way to pronounce her name yesterday. So I've worked on that for the past 24 hours, Lynn. Lynn is a government tax incentives consultant, and she is with Business Development Strategies, Inc. I'm Haley Steele. I'm the marketing coordinator with Mass MEP, and I will be your moderator for this webinar. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. As you can see, we have you all in a webinar format, so your mics all are muted, but there will be plenty of ways for you to engage with Lynn this afternoon. We have the polls, we have the Q&A, and we have the chat. Down on the bottom, you should all have a ribbon if you are new to Zoom, that has a chat bubble and the Q&A bubble. If you don't have those options, you might have 3 dots that say more. You can click on those and it will give you at the very top the options say chat. You can open that up. We like to say in our webinar formats that the chat is a place for you to go in and speak to your colleagues that are in the audience with you this afternoon. It's one of the ways in what we've learned in the past 6 months is usually you would be face-to-face with us and you might be able to sit with somebody, and if Lynn said something and maybe miss it and say, "Ooh, what was that she just said?" This might be the place for you to do that. Also, if you want to reach somebody specific, if you need something specifically to put attention to Lynn, you can do that to her as well. You can reach out to the panelists. The Q&A, we definitely want you to be using that. That is also on the bottom. It is open and we will be actively answering the questions throughout the webinar. I think what we'll do is as we proceed along, if there's a place where Lynn has an opening and I can interject, I'll do that. But if she's on a roll and she's got some information, I might just try and hold off and keep those until the end, and then we can address them when we finish the webinar. And if we do have enough time at the end, maybe we can even open up the mics and let everybody jump in and ask some questions. The polls we have today will pop up throughout the webinar. You'll receive a notification. Oh, I'm sorry. They'll put a time limit on each one of these. And then once we have closed down the polls, we have the information. It's a way for us to gain that information to help with the audience and to help Lynn understand who is in the audience and how she might be able to specialize some of the information she's providing to all of you today. Upon completion of our webinar, when everybody closes out of this, you're actually not done with us at Mass MEP. We still like to keep a hold of you. So you'll receive a notification from us that will ask you to complete an evaluation for us. The evaluations are extremely important to us at Mass MEP. They do provide data for us for the trainings, and it also gives us insight for continuous improvement on our training content, for our internal webinars, for our staff, and also for our third parties such as Lynn. They do like to receive this information. It's great feedback for them, and it helps them with their continuous improvement as well. The webinar and presentation content will not be made available today as it is proprietary to Business Development Strategies, Inc. We will be able to provide to you a single sheet. It is an information sheet, and once I get that loaded, I will try to put that up in the chat for you. If I can't get that into the chat, you will all receive it from us in a thank you email for attending the webinar today. So that's my spiel. I'm done. I'm gonna turn the webinar over now to Lynn from Business Development Strategies, Inc. So let's begin with our webinar.
Great. Thank you so much, Haley. Thanks for that introduction. And I really want to thank MEP for inviting me. Again, I'm Lynn Tokarczyk, Government Tax Incentives Consultant with Business Development Strategies. And I go way back with MEP. I go way back with Jack Healy. For those of you that knew him, he was an amazing man. Kathy Mahoney worked very closely with Joe Griffin, Christy Grignon, and of course, Haley. They've all been like amazing to work with. So thank you so much, MEP, for inviting me here this afternoon. Just to give you a quick snapshot about me and Business Development Strategies, we are a government tax incentives consulting firm. And my background, I actually used to work for the governor's office way back when. and actually worked in Worcester and throughout central Massachusetts on the economic development side. And following that, I was recruited by Ernst & Young. So I've negotiated tax incentives all over the country. Then I was trying to enhance my quality of life. And we actually ended up launching business development strategies. I don't know where the time has gone, but 17 years ago. And so you'll hear about some of our the great projects that we've worked on, how to navigate through these tax incentives. We've been thrilled that we've worked with the who's who of Massachusetts, companies such as TripAdvisor, Keurig, Moderna, which I believe is a household name right now, Waters Corporation, Consigli Construction, and you'll be hearing and I'll be sharing some of the success stories with you. So I would like to move on and share the screen. Okay. And so we'll begin. Okay. Okay. So again, a little bit about business development strategies. Again, we're a government incentives consulting firm, and we specialize on the tax incentive side. And we're helping companies that are trying to make corporate real estate decisions by identifying, negotiating, and securing state and local tax incentives. And we've built up a team over the past 17 years, which is extremely essential. We built up a team of subject matter specialists, anywhere from tax attorneys, TIF attorneys, CPA, local assessors, and all of our other team members are all former state and local government officials. And as you can see, the type of industries that we're focusing on are manufacturing, life science, innovation, technology, distribution. We like to think of these industries as recession-proof businesses because currently these are the companies that are continuing to expand even during the pandemic, and we feel and beyond the pandemic. So these tax incentives are helping companies make corporate real estate decisions to help them reduce their overall project costs, whether they're thinking about renovating an existing building, trying to find a new building to renovate, possibly an on-site expansion, or putting a shovel in the ground. So these are the types of incentives that we will be chatting about today. And this just gives you a snapshot: state and municipal tax incentives. Again, companies are trying to make corporate real estate decisions, and they're all on a budget. The price tags are going up with the cost of construction and all other items. So it's a part of the economic package for them to access these tax incentives, because it's all about saving cash in order to move forward and make decisions to expedite and accelerate their expansion plans. Okay, so this particular slide really, again, is a snapshot about this program. The program known as this is the Economic Development Center program. This is a state program. The state administers the program through the Mass Office of Business Development, and they actually allow the municipalities to participate. The program's been up and running since 1993, and it was enacted by the state legislature. I will have to say, though, that this is probably one of the strongest mystery programs in Massachusetts. Most companies do not know about this program. And if you don't know about this program and you end up moving forward without utilizing this program, obviously you've left cash on the table. And most CFOs, CEOs, and the like are not too pleased when they find out that they've left cash on the table. And we'll talk about that a little more. But the numbers really speak for themselves. 1,800, it's actually a little over 1,800 now. Since January of 2010, I will say that there's probably close to 5,000 businesses that have benefited from this program since 1993. And certainly you can see the private capital investment, 31 billion. So collectively, these companies, these 1,800 companies have spent private capital 31 billion. So that's pretty compelling. And the jobs retained and job creation speak for itself. Okay. And I do want to mention that back in 2009, there were sweeping changes to this program. You may all have heard about ETAs, EOAs. ETAs were known as economic target areas, EOAs, economic opportunity areas. All of those, that alphabet soup is no longer required. So basically, there were only certain communities that were eligible to offer these tax incentives. But fast forward, the state really wanted every community in every corner of the Commonwealth to have access to offer this economic development tool to businesses. So, of course, this is a great program, a state program, and again, offered to the municipalities in Massachusetts. But if it's using state taxpayers' dollars, there's always eligibility criteria. It's not every company is eligible to participate in the program. So on the left, a business that is expanding their operations, a company that is planning to relocate, perhaps from one community to another, a company that's looking to relocate from out of state to Massachusetts, or it could be a company that has an existing building and they have space to renovate the building, or there could be a potential for an on-site expansion in that same municipality. And then, you know, the ultimate, and in a perfect world, a company that has proposed new construction project, putting a shovel in the ground. Because as we'll discuss, it's all about bringing new tax revenue to the municipality. So again, and it may be a purchase or it could be a lease. I will say that what the intent of this program is, it's for a single occupant building. Doesn't really work in a multi-tenanted building. As an example, if a company was leasing 20,000 square feet and the total building was 100,000 square feet, now they want to take maybe an additional 10,000. Again, because we need to see the assessed value of the building increase as well as the taxes. Now, I should say if the building is in the range of 500,000 square feet and there's a particular user that's looking to occupy half of it, that could work. There are some creative ways around that. So wanted to make sure you had that information. Now on the right, so what is the criteria for companies that are looking to expand? Well, the first check mark is creating new jobs. Job retention is just as important if the company's already in Massachusetts. And so under the Massachusetts general law for job creation, how many new jobs are required? One new permanent full-time job. I will say that cities and towns would probably want to see more than one full-time job being created. But then again, if it's a retention project, keeping a business in a community, that's going to be very compelling. The second bullet is, again, generating new real estate investment. Company that's planning on renovating the building and spending money to renovate or constructing a new facility. All of this, whether it's an existing building or new construction, equals generating new local tax revenue to the municipality. That is a requirement under this particular program. And the last bullet is other state criteria. Well, if the company has an interest in applying for potential state tax credits also, the state does like to monitor sales outside of Massachusetts. That could be a requirement. Where is the project located? Is it in a gateway municipality? There are 26 gateway municipalities in Massachusetts, and they are looked at quite favorably because there's a higher unemployment rate and there's an increased amount of inventory as well. So that could be that's part of the criteria. And then what's, I would say, most important is project timing. Timing is essential with applying for this project because these tax incentives need to be secured before a company signs a lease or closes on a property. This creates leverage for the company, because all of these programs have to go before town meeting, city council, board of selectmen, many boards and committees, and the state. And if the company's already signed a lease or closed on the property, you've already made a commitment. And the taxpayers, the voters who have, the residents of the town who ultimately have to approve this, they're pretty savvy. And they'll say, well, the company's already made a decision to locate here. Why should we give them a tax incentive? So timing is essential. And it typically takes, in a town, 3 to 5 months or so to secure tax incentives, because in a town, as you know, it's all about town meetings. Towns typically have one town meeting a year, an annual town meeting, with potentially a fall town meeting, or sometimes special town meetings in between. So that's essential. And then of course with cities, it can be much more expedited because they have weekly meetings or meetings that certainly twice a month. But we have worked with projects on the fast track, and we have accelerated these projects for a town meeting in 30 to 60 days. Not that I'm encouraging that, but it has been done on the fast track. Okay, so this next slide really just demonstrates, again, the project types. There could be potential state and local tax incentives available. And these programs really are focused for non-manufacturers, because we know that manufacturers are eligible for statutory tax credits. So there's really no double dipping. So the state and local tax incentives would be eligible for, we'll just say a distributor, a research and development company, and other sectors. And on the left, the gateway city retention, I do note this because, again, as I mentioned, the state as well as gateway municipalities are quite favorable with offering more lucrative tax incentives, just because of the demographics of a gateway municipality. And then on the right, a local incentives only project. So if there was a manufacturing company that was eligible to take advantage of the 3% statutory investment tax credit, or if it's a designated life science company, they have other alternatives through the Mass Life Science Center, then the state would still allow that particular company to apply for a local incentive program. And so just to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of how these incentives work and really what's the benefit to the company. So a state EDIP tax credit, again, this would be for non-manufacturers, because again, manufacturers can access the 3% statutory through being designated by the Department of Revenue as a manufacturer. But another benefit would be a state 10% abandoned building tax deduction. So the state is encouraging companies to revitalize existing buildings. And so if a building is at least 75% vacant for 2 years, there could be a one-time deduction on the renovation costs. Now we know a deduction is very different than a tax credit. So, but this is, with the cost of renovations can start escalating. It could start off at $1 million, and by the time the construction company comes in and does their evaluation of what the project scope will be, we're seeing, that this number is really escalating. So a deduction, can be quite beneficial to a company. So those are the two potential state benefits. And again, going back to the state EDIP tax credit, it's based on the number of jobs and some other criteria. So the state will take a look at, well, how many new permanent full-time jobs are being created, and then they will place a value per job. It could be anywhere from $1,000 typically, up as high as $5,000 or $10,000 a job. So, but there's many other criteria that the state is looking at in order to determine what the value of a tax credit would be. So again, moving on to the third bullet, municipal real estate tax incentives. The popular version of a municipal real estate tax incentive is tax increment financing, known as a TIF. It's actually, this program is always referred to as the TIF program. So basically, a TIF is a negotiated real estate property tax exemption and up to 20 years based on the new incremental assessed value and new taxes. So ultimately, a TIF is a discount on future taxes. The beauty about a TIF is the city or town doesn't lose a dime on the existing taxes. So if there's an existing building, the town or city will continue to collect full taxes on that building. If it's a land parcel, again, the town or city will continue to collect full taxes on the land. Should there be, if it's an existing building and a substantial renovation to the building or an on-site expansion, of course, there's going to be an increase in the assessed value of that property. And obviously, if it's a new construction project, that's all new assessed value and new tax revenue. That new tax revenue is what a TIF is eligible for. And a TIF is a minimum of 5 years, a maximum of 20 years. In any given year, the term could be 1% up to 100%. So of course, every company would want a 20-year tax deal with 100% exemption, so they'd be paying zero taxes on the new taxes. Well, unfortunately, it's not a perfect world, so that's when negotiations come into play between the company and the municipality. So again, it can be quite lucrative. The next bullet, personal property tax exemption. Every company in Massachusetts is subject to paying municipal personal property taxes as well as their real estate taxes. If it's a lease, then of course it's through a triple net lease on the real estate tax side, but every company except for manufacturers. That's another great benefit of being a manufacturer in Massachusetts, because if the company is a designated manufacturer by the Department of Revenue, they are 100% exempt from paying municipal personal property taxes. But every other company with a TIF is eligible to have a discussion to reduce and to negotiate their personal property taxes. And then the last bullet, which is really not as popular, is a special tax assessment. And the reason why it's not as popular is because the city or town will lose current tax dollars. So it's based on the current value of the building. And there are statutory requirements on what these exemptions should be. And again, they can go up to 20 years. So we've seen a handful, and actually we do have an example of one. But during this particular time period, this is when the company is meeting with local officials to see if they have an appetite for the company's particular expansion, number one. Number two, does the city or town have a desire to offer potential tax incentives to this particular company? Is the town pro-business? Have they done tax incentives in the past? Sometimes that doesn't mean anything because they've been extremely nominal and not really of value to the company. So there's a lot of different moving parts to take a look at. And this is the time where, all the backup information, because in order to determine what the new taxes are going to be, there's got to be someone on the team that's evaluating the new projected assessed value. That's one of the big benefits of our team. We're very, very fortunate to have such a very seasoned team, but we do have a local assessor on our team who's projecting values of buildings all day long. The cities and towns typically subcontract it out to other service providers, so sometimes they're not as quick as we'd like them to be. So this way we can get that information and work closely with the municipal assessor on that. So the approval process. And before we get into the approval process, I just want to mention during this time, the company is having discussions with the municipality and with the state during this time. And if a municipality is interested, they're also interested in what it means. What does this mean for our local economy? What is the economic impact? What does this company bring? Or if they've been located in the community, what have they brought to the municipality? So we're always very busy working on the economic impact analysis, what employees are spending in the town, what the company is spending in town with various service providers. It could be contractors, it could be hotels, it could be restaurants, and very similar to the employees. So it's very important. The cities and towns do want to see this information, slide presentations, and even more importantly, what they do want to see is a company's community involvement. They want to know all about the company's corporate culture and how engaged they are with working in the municipality. Are they dedicated to supporting local programs, schools, education? And again, it can be a very compelling component of the discussion. And because of the approval process, as I will discuss in a minute, it's a lot of educating. It's a lot of grassroots, because in towns, town meetings are required. In most quorums are 150 residents need to attend in order to convene the meeting. It could be up as high as 400, their quorum requirement. We've seen it varies all across the state. And so we need the residents to approve town meeting. And if they're not educated about the program and they don't know what a TIF is, and by the way, if it's their first time hearing about a TIF, the only definition they know of a TIF is a feud between two people. They have no idea it's a financial vehicle. So better make sure that the residents and the voters are educated on who the company is and what a TIF is. And so it's a lot of grassroots and educating. So typically there are information sessions before any town meeting. That's critical and essential according to the cities and towns. So again, the approval process is the company is working with the local officials to negotiate a favorable TIF proposal. Once there's a TIF proposal between the local TIF team and the company, then it needs to be presented and then recommended by Board of Selectmen or by the mayor. If it's a town, the Board of Selectmen are recommending it to town meeting, and town meeting has the final approval of any TIF project. If the mayor has recommended it, then the city council has final approval. Of course, during the pandemic, it's been quite interesting on navigating through this process. It's clearly most of it has been all virtual. Board of Selectmen's meetings, Finance Committee meetings, many other boards and committees. I have attended a town meeting live at a high school in the auditorium, social distancing, but most of them now are really planning on virtual town meetings, but we do see a mix with that. And then once the town has approved it, then it needs ultimately to be approved by the state, because again, this is a state program. So just wanted to share with you some projects all across Massachusetts and what's been going on. So Analog Devices, they're such a great company. They're located in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Their corporate headquarters was in Norwood, but they've recently relocated also to Wilmington. I just thought this was such a great snapshot rendering of their proposed building. And, you know, a lot of these companies in the suburbs, they're competing with Boston. Well, this was certainly last year. A little different now with the pandemic, but still, this company, you know, a leader, a manufacturing leader, largest manufacturer in the town, employer, taxpayer, the town really welcomed them too. They were in town for more than 30 years. So they had a very, very strong presence of community involvement and economic impact. And the town was very, very interested in keeping them in the town. But what the company had to do, as you can see there, the circle on the left is a community hub for their employees, a more upscale cafe, workout, fitness areas, and many other areas to socialize. Again, you know, I'm sure they're reconfiguring that a little inside with the social distancing during the pandemic, but it's just, this is a manufacturing expansion. And you can see was basically a $150 million private investment, and the benefits, a 3% manufacturing tax credit, a TIF, and lots of community outreach, because this was actually the town's very first TIF. And this was just recent. As a matter of fact, this project is in the final phase of completion. So during the pandemic, there was a slowdown with construction, but the good news is it's almost complete. So we're very excited about that. AIS in Leominster, such a great company. We were so pleased to work with them a few years back. This AIS, I'm sure you may know, they are the leader in workstations, the only that are made here, only manufacturer of workstations in Massachusetts. So it was a very exciting project. The company was in Hudson and needed more space, and they identified this particular building, 572,000 square feet, very large building, so they could all be under one roof. And the city was very receptive and very welcoming to the company. And this particular project, interestingly, you can see the number of jobs retained and created, but this was a special tax assessment. At the time, there wasn't a huge spend in renovations for the building at that particular time, because the building is so large that if it's not an on-site expansion, many times the assessed value of the building just doesn't change dramatically. So this was a special tax assessment, a 13-year, that was quite lucrative for the company. And as a matter of fact, it was a 100% exemption in year one. So based on this total building, the company paid zero taxes. You can imagine 572,000 square foot building. The taxes were pretty high. Next story. This is a company we've worked with for decades and decades. Actually, when I first started working with the state in Worcester, it was a project that I worked on very early on in the town of Oxford. The company back in the late 90s they had proposed plans to construct 70,000 square feet, their very first shovel in the ground. Well, they put Oxford on the map. And since then, there's been many other companies that have located to Oxford. They're located on Old Webster Road, and there's been many other companies located there. So it's very exciting. The town is extremely pro-business. We worked with them. Again, they've expanded multiple times. So they're growing towards, that million square feet. They're certainly, in the 600,000 to 700,000 square foot range as we speak. And so recently there was 170,000 square foot on-site expansion that's still ongoing. Now, this is a very good example of, we met with the town in May, and the company had some plans and they were trying to make some decisions pretty quickly due to their customer demand. And in May, typically their town meeting had just passed, and the town manager at the time said, well, we could put you on the town meeting for next year. Oh no, that didn't work out. And then the company, explained that they had more accelerated decisions to make. So then it was potentially, okay, we could have a potential fall town meeting. Nope, that didn't work either. So what was decided is, here it is May, that they would have a special town meeting in July, which was unheard of, because towns typically don't have meetings in the summer because they won't get a quorum of 200 or so. And it was just on the fast track. But working as a team, we actually got more than 200 people to attend the town meeting. It was July 25th. It was a hot summer evening. And it was really about a lot of collaboration. I will have to give a lot of credit to the Worcester Chamber of Commerce. They did a phenomenal job because they were very instrumental, IPG as a chamber member, and they were so helpful getting the word out, social media, and making sure that we had the 200 residents there to support IPG, who again is basically the largest manufacturer, taxpayer, and employer in the town of Oxford. So the town really wanted to help them and partner with them to help IPG continue to grow and expand in the town of Oxford. Prime Metals, you may have read about them in the paper recently. And so this is another great company that's recently expanded. They were in the city of Worcester. They still are, actually. And they had some expansion plans. They wanted to be under one roof. They had a couple locations in the city of Worcester. So they've recently, they decided to expand in the town of Sutton. Their building is pretty much, the construction of the building is pretty finalized. Now they're getting some of the interior to, making those improvements as well. So it's a beautiful building. It's right off of 146 in Sutton. This was another very, very fast track project. The town manager, Jim Smith, the town planner, Jen Hager, were phenomenal to work with. They understand what it means to bring businesses in, bringing jobs, bringing tax revenue to the town. And as a result of this project, there's other companies now that are actually expanding in the town of Sutton as well. This actually is a MEP client also. So we're always so happy to work with MEP when the time comes and, collaborate, and because manufacturers, let's face it, they all have, some similar needs depending on the industry. So this was just such a great project to work on, and the building looks fantastic. Lichen Bioscience, you might have read about them just recently. They just expanded last week, it's hot off the press, in the town of Hopkinton. They just had their ribbon cutting. Now, this was a company a life science company during the pandemic that was considered to be an essential business. So they were able to continue with their construction during the beginning of the pandemic and beyond. And so the building looks amazing. It was a vacant building. As you can see, it was a little on the smaller side, 64,000 square feet. It was a $12 million private investment. And but the company is so thrilled that they were able to secure some substantial tax incentives. This again was on the fast track. It seems everything we do was on the fast track. So, and then the last company we wanted to feature is Waters Corporation. This one's in Taunton. You might think of Waters Corporation in Milford because that's where their corporate headquarters are. But they have a very long-standing existence in the city of Taunton, and specifically in the Miles Standish Industrial Park. And so they're in the final phase also of a construction. This is a $200 million project investment. Well, the reason why it's 135,000 square feet, it's actually a silica manufacturing operation. And the infrastructure is massive, massive. So that's where you see a lot of the project investment, how that's all tied in. But again, they were longstanding manufacturing Taunton. The city of Taunton certainly recognized that to offer them a 20-year TIF. Most of the TIFs are, I would say, between 10 and 15 year, but Waters, they were able to access and secure a 20-year TIF. So that concludes the presentation. I look forward to engaging with many of you, and hopefully you'll reach out through email after the session concludes. And we'd be so happy to answer any questions now, if there are any. Thank you so much.
So Lynn, there is one question, and I think you did answer this somewhat throughout the presentation, but one of the attendees asked the question, is this also eligible for startups?
Well, let's put it this way. Lichen Bioscience, one of the projects that we just highlighted, is a startup business. And they have leased the 64,000 square foot building. So it really, it all depends on the size of the building and bringing new tax revenue to the town. All of these companies were bringing substantial new tax revenue to the town by a major renovation of the building or a new construction project. So it's not as important if it's a startup business, because as again, Lichen was, when we first started actually even working with Moderna, they were considered to be a startup business, and they were occupying about 200,000 square feet. And so we do work with startup businesses, but the criteria is that there needs to be new tax revenue coming into the municipality by a major real estate investment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was it. That was our only question. And I think that's probably because there's a saying for this. I don't remember what it is, but you definitely, you did a great job covering the content. So everybody, I think, got a good idea of it. But as you can see, there is also Lynn's contact information is there on the screen. So if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to let us know. Yeah, we have a couple of our project managers from Mass MEP on here. And one of our project managers said it's good to know that that our project manager has a client and it's in the town of Ware. So she definitely will be reaching out to you, and that's Karen Carswell. So she'll probably be reaching out to you, Lynn, and chatting with you about that. So I think you've definitely generated some thought today from the poll questions that were asked. There's definitely a lot of people, like you said, this has brought about a lot of opportunities. These are the silver linings to what's happened with the pandemic. And when we get this information back to you, you'll be able to see some of these people that you'll be able to work with in the future. So I think if you're good and we've covered everything, we want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. And you, like I said, you can always, right there is Lynn's information right in front of you. You can reach out to her, or you can always reach out to us at massmep.org. And we'll let everybody go. We'll give everybody a little bit back of their afternoon and enjoy the nice day. I don't know if it's a little cloudy by all of you as it is here, but try to make the most of it anyway. So thanks everyone. And if you need anything further, oh, let's see, we got a Q&A. All right, so here someone wrote, going from 4,000 to 10,000 square foot in a new location, new construction, 6 to 12 jobs. How small is worth working on?
That may be, that's on the smaller side. We'd have to take a look at it and see what the tax rate is, see what the projected assessed value is, but it's, you know, a 10,000 square foot building. Typically the buildings that we're working with, I would have to say, are at least, you know, 40,000 square feet and more, because, you know, a 10,000 square foot building basically could generate, you know, a couple $1,000s in taxes, not tens of thousands of, and again, it depends on the location and what the tax rate is. So that's something we'd have to take a look at.
All right. All right, so anybody else, any questions last minute? Looks pretty good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Lynn, for coming on and doing this for us. We appreciate it at Mass MEP. And like you had said, we definitely have a great relationship that, you know, we've put together over the past couple of years. It's good to work with you, and it's nice to be able to offer this out to a lot of our manufacturers that we work with as well. This is great information for them to have in their toolkit. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. You can always visit massmep.org and visit our workshops page, and you can see when we have some of our upcoming webinars for the next couple of months, almost I think through the end of the year that we have posted. So hopefully we'll see everyone soon, but have a great afternoon. We'll see you all later. All right.
How was that?
That's good. All right. It was great. I was telling Christy the polls, the results. So I'll run a report when we end. I'll run the report. I'll get all the attendee information, and then we'll run these poll reports. But the questions that we were asking them, the information was, it'll be great for you. It'll be extremely beneficial. You'll be able to look at it. There was a lot of them that said, yes, Lynn, please, let's talk. There was a lot of them that are looking to do something in the next 0 to 3 months. So yeah.
I'm gonna hire you to come on to my team. Oh my God.
Christy's right there.
I know she is. You got both of you. I mean, I'm telling you, MEP.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
You guys are an award-winning. I know what everything you're doing on the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
But we're really a step above.
Thank you.
I'm giving a lot of presentations. I'm even giving I'm giving a presentation to AIM the end of October.
Yeah. Yeah. They've worked with us too. So
And
you'll have to say to them,
I've got some ideas for them.
Yeah.
Like polling.
we've worked with them too. And they've even said it to us. They're like, oh, wait, you do this and you do that. And we're like, yeah, we do. We do all these fun things.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the executive committee. I'm on the board of directors and the executive committee. And
Oh.
I am I hope Christy.
She's right there.
Right here. I
She's
am
just
here.
laughing. She's
Oh,
laughing.
Christy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
good. Now I can go to the Cape.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. Are you kidding me? I'm in the middle of a lot of work deadlines. I can't go to the Cape.
Oh no, you gotta be able to go to the Cape.
Oh,
Oh,
Christy and I have chatted about that because we were at the Cape one time when we were chatting.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you'll have to, well, what's today? Thursday? So yeah,
Get down.
get down there.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the plan.
Yeah, there's not much time left though, right? We're running out of nice weekends.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much. That was so enjoyable. It was so much fun.
Good, good. I'm glad. That's great. Yeah, I'll get all this information together for you and I'll send it over to you so you can kind of see what happens. But and you'll definitely be able to generate. So we ask for their first name, their last name, their city that they're from, and then the company name, and then it also gives us their email. So
Oh, great.
I don't have phone numbers, but
Yeah, no, that's fine.
yeah, so I can at least give you their email addresses so that you can access them that way. But I wouldn't be surprised too if they reach out to you as well.
Okay.
Also.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted on, the outreach and everything.
Yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. Thanks,
All
Lynn.
right. Thank you so much again.
All right.
Okay. Talk soon.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.